Dynamite Kid today passed away, and I believe he actually passed away on his birthday. Jeez, man. Newer fans, as far as the Dynamite Kid, won't ever get just how, hot and over the Bulldogs were in the mid to late 80s. Even to me, who I was very young, 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid at that point, 12-year-old kid. Even then, you just looked at Dynamite Kid. I remember looking at Dynamite Kid, and I thought he was miles and miles and miles better than anyone else out there. And that at a time when there was a lot of talent out there as well. So he stood out with amongst all the other talent during that time frame. Today, we have access to older bouts from the from the old days, so we can see just how magical he was in the ring. Even then, that doesn't show how radical and game-changing he was, or how beloved he was to the wrestling fans all over the world. Dynamite was probably the first wrestler, I think, to make it big in Japan, UK, and the US. That is one achievement. Now, we know that he was not as good as a human as he was a wrestler. With that said, he was a wrestler to a lot of fans. He was a wrestler to us, and maybe that's how some people will choose to remember him by, because when you hear about other certain stories, not that nice of a human being. Before Daniel Bryan, before Chris Benoit, there was the Dynamite Kid. And a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers from today's day and age are giving tributes. And like I said, he and Davey Boy were amazing to watch. The matches with the Hart Foundation were some of the best tag matches out there. And you guys remember when the Bulldog would go after Jimmy Hart? Hysterical stuff. Best snap suplex in the business. Now, I remember, and it came sad, where he was pretty much hobbled and crippled back when him and Davey came out just to get squashed and drop the titles. And I know he was active until the late 90s. But, what I'm referring to, you go read his book and tell me how bad that night was for him. He was wheeled in and wheeled out, especially during that match, if you remember it. Had back surgery about 3 weeks before that, and was told to stay out of the ring for 6 months. And now listen, I know he wasn't paralyzed until a few years after that. But to me, it seems like essentially he was paralyzed at that point, and that he never worked the same way again. Eventually, sadly, he ended up in a wheelchair. He retired in 91, and I believe he had one comeback match in 95, 96. Hardly active in the 90s. So that essentially, to me, was his career, right there. Well, just my thoughts there. I hope all is well. Look forward to speaking to you guys very, very soon.